Alright, so we are doing a analysis of my recipe. The recipe is from Peter Davis from the Wabanaki Foodways. It is a roasted parsnip and maple soup. So first, we wanted to take our vegetables. I have yellow onions, a pound of parsnip, one large potato, which came out to be about another pound, and so first we wind up dicing them. You want to make sure that your onions are in thick slices and your parsnip and your potatoes are diced, cubed in a way that they can roast properly, but not so bad that it becomes a bigger issue where they won't roast properly and they kind of don't get soft enough. So here we're just throwing the 3 vegetables into a bowl with the goal of putting the canola oil and the maple syrup on top. Now, what that's going to do is we're going to wind up coating these vegetables, and it's going to help the roasting process. So right now we're just finishing putting in all of these veggies in this bowl. From here we're going to obviously throw in the oil. It's 30 milliliters. I have a 15 milliliter tablespoon here, so I'm going to throw in 2 of these. Ignore my, spilling slowness. So here comes the second one. And after that, there is a attempt to fill up 30 milliliters worth of maple syrup. The maple syrup is really what's going to give it that sweet taste. It really makes the flavors a little bit brighter, and it makes it a little bit sweeter because potatoes and even parsnip and onions are kind of a little bit more of a mild taste. You want to have a maple syrup that really is like a natural, nice tasting maple syrup. That way you really get it going. Here I just threw in some rosemary sprigs right off of some fresh rosemary, and then I salt and peppered it. That was not enough salt and pepper. You'll see later on I definitely salt and pepper it a lot more. Here I'm just mixing together everything in this bowl. You really want to make sure that everything is all incorporated, all covered in the oil and the maple syrup, and the seasonings are everywhere. That way they roast evenly, they roast properly, and it really makes it a much better, much cohesive soup later on if you can really get it coated the right way. You want to make sure here, you can probably see in the video, my onions are just thick enough. If you get them too thin, what will happen is when you put them in the pan later on when you're roasting them, what happens is the onions will burn before you can roast them, so they won't be as mushy. They'll kind of get crisped up, and it's not how you want to do it. So here I just poured the rest of the vegetables into my baking tray. It's lined with aluminum foil. I did not put any spray on there. I probably definitely should have, because it got stuck there later on. I just threw in two cloves of garlic as well. Definitely adds some extra flavor. I could see there being more garlic added, but for now it was a pretty decent, pretty good system. Here I'm just really trying to spread everything out evenly. You don't want anything to be laying on top of one another, because the vegetables that are underneath won't roast properly in the oven. Here I'm showing the video. You want to make sure that your oven is on 375. I can even say putting it higher might help. There's probably a delicate balance there. 375 was good. Maybe going too hot, you'll wind up burning things like the onions way too quickly. So you really want to make sure that you're getting it at a proper level, and you want to make sure that you're checking on it. Here I'm saying 20 minutes to 25 minutes. I wound up going a good decent bit more. This clip right here, I am 23 minutes into the roasting process. I didn't open up the oven to really make sure that you're getting it good. You want to make sure you don't open up the oven all the time. You open up the oven too much, what will wind up happening is the steam that's really helping it roast and soften up won't be captured in there, and it winds up taking a little bit longer. So here I'm looking at it, I'm shaking it around, and I take a fork I poke one of these potatoes, one of the parsnips, and you could really tell right away. You'll know if they're roasted properly if the fork kind of just goes right through it, like it'll pierce really easily. You could see the steam coming off of it, but you could tell right here that as I'm poking it, as I'm checking, it's definitely not ready. It's definitely not like worth it. So I take it off. I give a finger. Hold on, we got to put it in for a little bit longer. I throw it back into the oven. So it's just really important that we are roasting it properly and letting it sit and really get that color on it, because that color is really what's going to help the flavors of the vegetables come out more. Because water parsnips or parsnips are a closely related thing to a carrot. They're in basically the same family. They're pretty close. So you really need to soften it up a lot. They're pretty solid vegetables. But here I finally have it done. I take it out. Everything's pierced well. It's nice and good. Make sure that you use oven mitts. Don't put anything in the oven that you just gotta burn your hands. After that, I'm poking on it, making sure that it's all good. And here I am. I've lifted up all the potatoes and the parsnips, as I mentioned earlier, that got stuck to the bottom of the pan because I didn't spray it properly. That was, a mistake on my part. So here I am. This is a little bit of a clip of me throwing the vegetables into a blender that I have off screen here. The blender has about 3 cups, a little bit more, 3 cups of vegetable stock. This really is what gives the soup the base. Otherwise, you're just gonna have blended up vegetables. You really want to make sure you have the vegetable stock. I went unsalted because you could salt to taste as it is finished. So it's really up to you on how salty you want to go. But I'm sure if you went with a salted vegetable stock, it's not gonna be the end of the world. So as I'm showing the camera here, I'm just trying to make sure that the vegetables and whatnot are properly mushy enough, roasted enough that they can go into the blender and blend properly and easily. Showing off the blender here, as you can see, it's a little bit over with the displacement, about 4 cups. After here, I blended it. I cut from the blending because I didn't want to, put something like that on in the video. I don't want people to, hear my blending. But I put it on the puree section for a little while. I got it really nice and smooth. It's supposed to be a nice velvety kind of a puree to make it like a better soup. And it came out very well. Here I'm putting it on the pan just to heat it back up because it's not going to be warm enough after you blend it. You really want to make sure that when you're doing this, you're seasoning it as it goes, because if you were following up to this point, that's definitely not enough salt, pepper, anything. So here we're throwing in a little bit more maple syrup just on top for a little bit extra sweetness. You see, I also throw in a lot more salt, pepper, or maybe not a lot more, but off screen I put in a lot more. Just, as it to your own taste, salt, pepper it. I also throw in some lemon juice. The lemon juice really helps cut through the sweetness and adds like a little bit of acidity. It's a nice touch. Peter Davis recommends throwing in some croutons. I think that's an absolutely great idea. I didn't have any croutons, so it came out very smooth. So it depends on how you like your soups. I happen to like a little bit of texture in my soup. So when I was blending it, I didn't go completely smooth because I like to be able to taste that, maybe the little chunks of potato. But here I'm just trying it, and it comes out very well. You want to make sure that when you're heating up the stove, you're stirring it continuously. Here you can see it's like a nice, like a light yellow golden-y color. It really does turn out quite well. It's a very good soup. It's nice and clear, and you taste it, and it's very exact on what you're eating. You know exactly what you're eating, and it's nice and it's very clear, as I mentioned. It's kind of like if you had like chicken noodle soup, this would be very close by. You eat it, it's nice and warm, some croutons in there, and you're absolutely, set. Yeah, and that was the soup from Peter Davis and the Wabanaki Foodways people. Shout out to them. It was a very great recipe, and thank you so much.